All right, folks, get your cameras ready, tripods dusted off, because December is going to be awesome for astrophotography.
It really is.
It's like the skies are putting on a show just for us, right? I mean, we've got everything this month.
Oh, yeah.
Conjunctions, meteor showers, you name it, and maybe even a chance to catch that elusive Earthshine.
Yeah, Earthshine, winter solstice. It's a photographer's dream, really.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So let's dive right into our celestial calendar, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so first up, Wednesday, December 4th. We've got a conjunction of the crescent moon and Venus.
Nice.
Now, I know a conjunction happens when two celestial objects, appear close together in the sky.
Right.
But what makes this pairing, so special for photographers?
Well, I think the real highlight here is the visual contrast you're going to get, right?
Okay.
You've got this sliver of a crescent moon,
Mm-hmm.
and then think about it. On that dark side,
Yeah.
you might be able to catch Earthshine.
That would be incredible.
Which is that subtle glow caused by sunlight reflecting off the Earth and back onto the moon.
That's right.
It's not easy to capture,
Right.
but that's what makes it so rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then right next to this softly glowing moon, you have Venus just blazing bright.
Yeah.
I mean, capturing that contrast in a single shot,
Yeah.
that's a challenge worth taking on.
That's a challenge worth taking on for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking wide angle lens here to get both of them in the frame.
Yeah, for sure.
But wouldn't a longer exposure for Earthshine make Venus overexposed?
See, that's exactly where the challenge lies, right?
Right.
You might need to play around with multiple exposures
Okay.
and then blend them in post-processing.
A little astrophotography magic.
Exactly.
All right, well, moving on to Saturday, December 7th.
Okay.
Jupiter is at opposition, meaning it's closest to Earth and at its brightest. It's like prime time for Jupiter viewing.
Prime time. Oh, yeah.
It's the perfect time to try to capture some details, like its cloud belts or maybe even the Great Red Spot.
Yeah, you might even get lucky.
So what's the best approach for photographing a planet like Jupiter? What do you think?
So there are a few ways to go about it. If you're just starting out,
Yeah.
the simplest method is just holding your smartphone camera up to your telescope eyepiece.
Oh, okay.
It won't be a masterpiece, obviously,
Sure.
but a fun way to get a quick snapshot.
Totally. Yeah.
But for more serious attempts,
Yeah.
you'll want to attach your camera directly to the telescope.
Right. And I remember you mentioning something called image stacking for planetary photography. Could
Sure.
you walk us through that?
Absolutely. So image stacking, it's a technique where you take multiple images of a planet and then use software to combine them.
Okay.
Now, this minimizes the blurring that's caused by the Earth's atmosphere and really guns out incredible detail.
Wow.
Think of it like taking hundreds of slightly blurry pictures and then merging them to create one super sharp image.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so image stacking's officially on my list of things to learn. It's a good one.
Now, Friday the 13th, it brings us the peak of the Geminids meteor shower.
Ooh.
We're talking a potential 120 meteors per hour.
A lot of meteors?
A lot of shooting stars, a lot of wishes.
Yeah.
But wait, there's a catch, isn't there?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a near full moon that night.
Ah, bummer.
Yeah, it'll wash out the fainter meteors.
Oh.
But you know what? The Geminids are known for producing bright, colorful meteors.
Oh, okay.
So you should still be able to catch some good ones.
All right, so there's still a chance.
Yeah.
Okay, so the key is to find a spot with minimal light pollution
Right.
and point the camera towards the radiant, right?
Yeah.
Which is the point in the sky where the meteors appear to originate from.
Exactly.
So for the Geminids, that's the constellation Gemini.
That's right.
Okay, and we're going wide angle again here
Absolutely, yeah.
to capture as much of the sky as possible.
Fill it wide as you can.
But with so many meteors flying around, how do you make sure you actually catch them in your shots? So this is where your camera's intervalometer becomes your best friend.
Okay.
It allows you to set your camera to take continuous exposures,
Okay.
like 30 seconds each.
Right.
So you don't have to manually click the shutter every time.
Oh, that's smart.
Just point your camera at the sky, start the intervalometer,
Yeah.
and let it run for a while.
Okay.
You'll be surprised how many meteors you can capture this way.
That's a great tip. Continuous shooting it is.
Continuous.
All right, moving on to Sunday, December 15th.
Okay.
We've got the full cold moon rising.
Oh, pretty.
What's the best way to capture a moonrise, especially for someone who might not have, a super powerful telephoto lens?
Well, a telephoto lens definitely helps to get those close-up shots of the moon.
Yeah.
But, you can also capture the beauty of a moonrise with a standard lens, right?
Okay.
Think about incorporating the landscape into your composition.
Right.
Imagine like a silhouette of trees against the backdrop of a rising full moon.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
It's all about finding that perfect spot and using the surrounding scenery to create a, captivating image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm picturing myself somewhere with a clear view of the eastern horizon.
Yeah.
Maybe a lake or some trees in the foreground.
That sounds perfect.
Sounds pretty magical, right?
Exactly. That's what December's all about.
Yes,
Finding those magical moments and capturing them in your own way.
I love that. Now, before we jump to the winter solstice, there's a quick opportunity for early risers on Friday, December 20th.
Right before dawn.
Yeah.
We'll have a waning gibbous moon
Okay.
near Regulus, the brightest star in the constellation Leo.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is a chance to capture the moon when it's not quite full, showcasing its craters and shadows.
Right, yeah.
Okay, now for the main event.
The big one.
Saturday, December 21st. The winter solstice.
Yes.
The shortest day and the longest night in the northern hemisphere.
It's true.
It's more than just a date on the calendar.
Oh, for sure. It's a celestial phenomenon with a rich history,
Absolutely, yeah.
And photographically speaking, the solstice presents this unique opportunity
Yeah,
to capture the sun at its lowest point in the sky.
it's true.
It's a different perspective than we usually see.
Right.
And that can make for some really interesting compositions.
Absolutely, yeah. It really makes you think,
What's that?
like thinking about all those ancient cultures celebrating the solstice.
Right.
It makes you realize just how long humans have been observing these events.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really humbling.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
We're part of something much bigger.
Absolutely.
So much bigger than ourselves.
Speaking of bigger things,
Yeah,
have you ever tried capturing that sunburst effect during the solstice?
I haven't, actually.
You can achieve that by using a small aperture,
Okay.
like f/16,
Okay.
and just kind of experimenting with different shutter speeds.
Okay, cool. So to recap for our listeners, for the winter solstice,
Yes. We're looking for those unique compositions that showcase the sun's low position
that's right.
in the sky,
Yeah.
and maybe even experimenting with some sunburst effects. Right.
Exactly. Now, after the solstice, things get really interesting for astrophotographers.
Oh, okay.
On Sunday, December 22nd, we have the last quarter moon.
Okay, remind me, what's special about the last quarter moon?
Sure.
Does that mean we only see a quarter of the moon?
Not exactly.
Okay.
The last quarter moon refers to a specific phase where half of the moon is illuminated,
Right.
much like the first quarter moon.
Right.
However, the illuminated portion is different.
Okay.
In the last quarter, the left half of the moon is lit,
Gotcha.
while in the first quarter, it's the right half.
Okay, so it's not just a crescent.
Right.
It's like half, but a different half.
Different halves, yeah.
Okay, but why is this phase so important for astrophotographers?
Because the last quarter moon, it rises after midnight
Okay.
and sets in the daytime.
This creates a window of several hours before dawn where the sky is exceptionally dark.
Oh, okay.
And those dark skies are perfect for capturing faint objects
Okay.
like galaxies and nebulae.
So it's like a hidden bonus
It is.
after the solstice.
It is.
A window of opportunity for deep sky photography.
Precisely, yeah.
I like it. And there's another bonus this year, isn't there?
There is. The sun is currently in its solar maximum phase.
Solar maximum. Does that mean more sunspots?
It does.
And how does that affect astrophotography?
It does. During solar maximum, the sun is more active
Okay.
with a greater number of sunspots and solar flares.
Okay.
These flares can send charged particles toward Earth,
Right.
which interact with our atmosphere and create
The northern lights.
the northern lights.
Wait, are you saying we might have a chance to see the aurora in December?
It's definitely possible.
Wow.
Keep an eye on space weather forecasts.
Okay.
Because if there's a strong solar flare, we might get lucky
Wow.
and have some aurora displays.
During those dark sky hours.
Yes,
After
it's-
the last quarter moon.
Exactly.
This is amazing.
It is.
Okay, so December is shaping up to be even more incredible than we initially thought.
I know, right?
We've got potential for conjunctions, meteor showers,
Yes.
a unique solstice, a dark sky window
That's right.
for deep sky objects,
It's true.
and maybe even the northern lights.
It's possible.
It's almost overwhelming.
It's a lot.
In a good way, of course. But let's talk about capturing the aurora. What kind of camera settings should our listeners be thinking about?
Well, similar to meteor showers, you'll want a wide-angle lens
Okay.
to capture as much of the sky as possible.
Right.
A tripod is essential, of course,
Of course.
for
Yeah.
keeping your camera steady
Right.
during those long exposures.
Yeah.
And speaking of exposures, you'll need to experiment.
Okay.
But a good starting point would be around 10 to 20 seconds.
Okay.
You want to capture the movement and color variations of the aurora
Yeah.
without overexposing the image.
Right, right. So wide angle lens, tripod, long exposures.
Yes.
Any recommendations for ISO and aperture?
Start with an ISO of 1600
Okay.
and an aperture of f2.8 or wider.
Okay.
But those are just starting points. You
Right.
might need to adjust them depending on the brightness of the aurora
Right.
and the ambient light conditions.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's always a good idea to take some test shots
Yeah.
and adjust your settings accordingly.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
That's going to be great.
It's like a scavenger hunt across the night sky.
It is.
But it does make me wonder,
What's that?
with so many potential targets this month,
Yeah.
how do you even begin to plan a night of astrophotography?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One of the most important things is to know what's up in the sky and when.
Okay. Yeah.
There are tons of great astronomy apps and websites
Right.
that provide detailed information about these events.
You mentioned NASA's Spot the Station
Yeah.
for tracking the International Space Station.
Yeah.
Are there similar resources for other celestial events?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Many apps and websites allow you to create personalized sky charts,
Oh, wow.
set alerts for upcoming events,
Oh,
and
really?
even simulate the night sky from your location.
Wow, that's awesome.
These tools are invaluable for planning.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the when,
Mhm.
but what about the how?
Okay.
What are your top tips for someone just getting into astrophotography?
Well, first and foremost, be patient.
Okay,
Astrophotography is a skill that develops over time.
sure.
Don't get discouraged if your first few attempts aren't perfect.
Yeah, that's good advice. It's easy to get caught up
Oh, yeah.
comparing yourself to those stunning images online.
Right. And remember, those images are often the result of hours of practice and post-processing.
Right.
Yeah. So start with the basics, like learning how to focus your camera properly,
Okay.
especially at night,
Yeah.
and master those fundamentals of exposure. Once you have a good grasp of those, then you can start experimenting
Okay.
with more advanced techniques
Yeah.
like image stacking and time lapses.
Okay, so master the basics before diving into the deep end.
Exactly.
What else should beginners keep in mind?
Location, location, location.
Oh, of course.
Finding a spot with minimal light pollution
Right.
is crucial for astrophotography.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The darker the sky, the better you'll be able to see and capture those faint celestial objects.
Right. Are there any specific things to look for in a location?
Ideally, you want a spot with a clear view of the horizon,
Okay.
especially if you're planning to shoot moonrises, sunsets,
Yeah.
or meteor showers.
Right.
And if you can find a location with some interesting foreground elements,
Okay.
like trees or mountains, that can add depth and visual interest to your images.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So we've talked about finding a dark location with those clear horizons, mastering our camera settings.
Right.
But let's be honest, astrophotography equipment can be a bit intimidating.
It can be, yeah.
Do I need to break the bank to get started?
Not at all. In fact,
Oh.
one of the most accessible tools for astrophotography
Yeah.
is probably already in your pocket,
Really?
your smartphone.
Seriously. My phone can capture the Milky Way.
Maybe not the Milky Way in all its glory,
Okay.
but you can definitely use your phone to capture things like
Right.
conjunctions, bright planets, and even meteor streaks if you're lucky.
Wow. Okay.
There are even apps specifically designed for astrophotography with smartphones
Oh, cool.
that can help you with things like long exposures and noise reduction.
Wow. So there's really no excuse not to get out there and try.
Nope.
Okay, let's say I'm ready to invest in a dedicated camera.
Okay.
What are some essential things to consider?
Well, the first thing is deciding what you're most interested in photographing.
Okay.
If you're drawn to those wide field shots
Yeah.
of the Milky Way
Right.
or meteor showers,
Yeah.
a DSLR or mirrorless camera with a wide-angle lens would be a great starting point.
Okay.
If you want to zoom in on planets and galaxies,
Okay.
you'll eventually want to look into getting a telescope.
Right. Makes sense. What about things like tripods and star trackers?
Yeah.
Are those essential right away?
So a sturdy tripod is absolutely essential for any kind of astrophotography.
Yeah.
Even the slightest camera shake can ruin a long exposure.
Right.
Star trackers, on the other hand, are more specialized pieces of equipment
Okay.
that help you take even longer exposures of the night sky without getting star trails.
Wow.
They're great for capturing faint, deep sky objects,
Okay.
but they're not necessary for beginners.
So start with the basics, master those,
Right.
and then consider upgrading as you gain experience
Exactly.
and define your astrophotography goals.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah,
And part of the fun is discovering what equipment works best for you and your style of photography.
absolutely. Speaking of the journey, you've mentioned the importance of patience
Yeah.
in astrophotography.
So important.
Any other words of wisdom to help our listeners avoid frustration?
Yeah, don't be afraid to experiment and make mistakes.
Okay.
Astrophotography is all about learning and refining your techniques.
Right.
Sometimes the best shots come from unexpected places or happy accidents.
Oh, for sure.
And remember, post-processing plays a huge role in astrophotography.
It does, yeah.
Don't be discouraged if your images straight out of the camera
Yeah.
don't look like the ones you see online.
Right.
A little bit of editing can go a long way in bringing out the details and beauty of the night sky.
Totally.
There are tons of great tutorials and resources available online to help you learn the basics of astrophotography post-processing.
Awesome. Well, this deep dive has been so inspiring.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
December is truly shaping up to be an astrophotographer's paradise.
It is.
We've got planets putting on a show,
Right.
meteors streaking across the sky, the moon in all its phases,
Yes.
the solstice marking a celestial turning point,
It's true.
and maybe even the northern lights dancing for us.
It's going to be amazing.